Got a lot going on? Is your day moving slow? Then kick up your feet and grab a cup of joe. Or grab a cup of water, whatever works for you. It's time to hang with Harry, so without further ado, the man of the hour with something to say, it's Pastor Harry Curry. Take it away.
Man, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that is the last week for that intro. Trevor and Ben both agreed that next week, if we're here on Tuesday night, one of them will do a different intro, and I'm so excited about that. I just can't get pumped about the intro. It's Tuesday night, and this is a friendly conversation with spiritual flavor. And so we hope it's going to be that. You know, a conversation goes both ways. And so I'm hoping tonight you will engage with the three of us, or the four of us, if we can get Reese to talk. And we'll have a little bit of more of a dialogue than usual. If you don't, then we'll just run down whatever rabbit trail we run down. And so welcome, and let's get started. Anybody want to say anything before we get started?
Somebody's already said. Don't forget to introduce yourselves. Haven't done that yet, so I guess we can introduce ourselves, because we've probably, this whole stream of Hanging with Harry, we've never done that, have we?
Okay.
We've said each other's names maybe, but...
Yeah, I don't remember this, that we're actually introducing ourselves. Well,
Okay.
Harry's already been introduced.
Yeah, that's right. I've already been introduced, so one of you guys go next.
All right, I'll go next. Is this camera on?
Yes.
Trevor Ford. I'm the associate pastor / youth pastor / sports ministry / whatever else they have for me to do. I've got, I was going to say 3 kids. I do have 3 kids, one on the way in August. So married Harry Curry's daughter. So it's just good stuff. So Ben, what about you?
Well, I'm Ben Hill. I own a small IT consulting business. I'm a techno nerd.
Don't sound so excited about it, Ben.
Well, I mean, you know, what else do you have? That's what I call it. I don't know. I'm a geek. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I enjoy definitely using what talents God's given me for His glory. And this is
Amen to that.
This has been a season for me where I've been able to
You really do that.
be pretty active in that.
Yeah.
So I've sort of enjoyed that aspect of it, I guess. So.
And you got a brand new, you have a 60, Noah's son just turned 16 on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, my
And,
son turned 16. This is my daughter, Reese. She'll be 15 in September. So,
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
so
Wow. You know what's going to happen to your car insurance, don't you?
we're going to cancel it.
Okay.
So I'm hearing bikes and Ubers for the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, we're going to invest in what are they, limes and
Yeah.
What's the other one?
I forgot. I've never rode one, actually.
Birds
Have
and limes.
you ever rode one of those yet, Ben?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah?
We tear those up, man.
I feel like I'd be the guy that
No, wait a
would
minute.
crash
What are we
on
talking?
one
Wait a
of
minute. I'm out of the loop here.
those scooters downtown.
Oh.
Anybody else in the chat ever rode the scooters downtown? Let us know how it is. Yeah. So Ben, you've ridden on one?
Oh yeah, man. They're a blast.
Pretty user friendly. You download the app.
Yeah, you got to have an app, and you got to unfortunately put your at least. I haven't figured out a way not to put my credit card in there.
Yeah.
And you're
You know-
supposed to
you know
be
what we're
over
talking about?
16, I think. Supposed to have an actual driver's license to ride, but nobody
okay.
follows that rule. You're supposed to have a helmet. Nobody follows that rule. There's probably a few other rules that nobody follows, but they're fun, man.
Can you leave it? Is it one of those things you leave anywhere you want to leave it? Is it?
Yeah, yeah. So you pick it up, and there's like these zones where you have to pick it up, and if it's outside of an active zone, then it like goes like offline, and it sends its beacon to the mothership and says, "I'm out of my zone," and you can't use it. And so if you walk, some of them you walk up to, either the battery's dead or they're out of their allowed zone. I don't know if it's like if they're too close to like Waterfront Park downtown. There's certain areas they can't function, and I don't know if it's because there's not wireless there, or if there's some cell tower problem, or if there's some city ordinance that says you can't have them in Waterfront Park.
Right. That's probably
But-
true.
Now, Ben, let me ask, related, in the greater parking lot of where your office is, the new Kroger's is there.
Yep.
I was told early on they had a similar thing with their baskets where they would only go to a certain distance in the, am I wrong?
That thing is awful.
But
There's a wire essentially buried all around the parking lot.
Oh, is that
in
right?
a circle. And after they got everything done, one of the last things they did, some guys come in a concrete saw and just cut these couple grooves, and you can still see them in all of the parking lot in a big circle. And anytime a bass cart, I think is the right term, crosses that wire, it sends off a signal and it locks the back wheels.
That's right.
And so those carts are like right in the driving lanes and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Stuck and, yeah.
So the technology for stopping is everywhere, man. Evidently, you know.
So what did you call the grocery cart?
Bass cart.
Come on, Ben. No one calls it that.
Oh, dude.
Dude, is that the official name?
That is the official name.
Chat, let us hear what
Yeah.
you actually call the grocery cart.
Let me
What do
know
you
if
call
I'm
it, Harry?
wrong in the
I
chat.
call it a
but
bass boat's what I call
A
it.
bass
No, I call it a shopping cart or a basket, shopping basket.
I assume it's a combination of cart and basket put together. It's called
Reese,
a bass cart.
what do you say when you go to the grocery and grab one of those bad boys? A cart?
A cart.
Yeah. I've heard people call them buggies.
Oh yeah, buggy. Yeah,
Buggies?
get a grocery
Yeah,
buggy.
buggies.
Don't you ride in a buggy?
I don't know about a buggy.
When you're small, you put your feet in there and they hang
Oh, I
out
guess
this way,
that's
you
true.
know.
Yeah, it's kind of a buggy. But
Oh man, we're already starting off on a good foot here, Harry.
I don't know if it's a good foot or not, but we're talking about shopping carts, and so anyway. So we got the introduction. Now, what do you want, Mr. Questionnaire, in our live chat? We're ready to roll. We're ready to go.
Hey Ben, focus.
Okay.
Any
man.
questions in the chat? We want to hear from our chat tonight. There's 29 people on Facebook, some on YouTube. Let's hear from the chat tonight.
Wonderful.
You got to give it a minute, Harry.
Wonderful.
About a 40-second delay from live.
40 seconds?
It's about 30 or 40.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
so what are these? So I'm not a Facebook guy.
Okay. The avatars.
I don't know. There's like all these cartoon versions of people.
Yeah. They're called avatars.
Okay.
But I'm not a big fan of I'm not sure the whole point of it is. I guess it's like an identity for Facebook purposes. People have a lot of time during quarantine to do these things.
You know, I don't know if you guys know who Nadia is.
Yeah.
Nadia Alamanye.
Okay. Yep.
She has one. It looks like her face.
Oh,
I
yeah?
mean, it looks a lot like her.
I wonder, does it take your picture or do you design it yourself?
Well, I think it's kind of like a Bitmoji, which I'm more familiar with, and you have to pick the eye shape, how far your eyes
Oh,
are
my
apart,
goodness.
the nose,
Oh, my
the
goodness.
mouth, the cheeks, the facial, cheekbone structure, chin, all that stuff, hair color, hair look, But Heather and I were talking, most people don't, there's a weight setting, and most people they're not honest about their weight setting.
Oh, okay.
Ever
So-
face is skinnier than it's
So a
supposed
guy
to
like
be.
me can go in there and I could be like a good 140 with muscles, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Is that, yeah, that's good.
Do you remember on the
Trevor just
That's
got
why-
interested. Hey,
that's
Trevor
why I
just
love-
got interested in
That's
that.
why I
all of a
love
sudden.
fake book, Fake book's great, Ben.
the Wii had the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
I
that's
forget,
right.
What
Yeah.
are they called? Me's?
Yeah, me's.
Yeah.
All right, so somebody in the chat said it was great to be at church on Sunday. Becky Allgood.
Oh, Becky, all
It was
good.
great to be
Man,
at church
Ron
on
and Becky.
Sunday.
Ron and Becky are a tremendous couple. I'm so glad they were here for a while and gone for a little while. Now they're back. And Ron's got a great German Shepherd. If
I
you've
saw
not
that bad
seen,
boy, yeah.
Ron's got a rescue German Shepherd that's about a year old, and he's a great dog.
Yeah. Got a good
said
bark, too, on
Yeah,
him.
Ron said he's really had to work with him, but man, he's a great dog. And
So any takeaways from you from Sunday, Harry, in terms of first time being back in a while and tried our best to social distance and separate? I did notice on the camera, I don't know if you guys went back and watched the live stream.
I didn't.
But it looks like we didn't, in terms of what it looks like on the video camera, it doesn't look like we separated the rows and took out chairs.
Yeah, the camera really lies a lot on depth perception, and also I think let's say it puts on 10 pounds or something on you too. But
I don't need that, man.
yeah, you definitely couldn't. There's no depth perception on our either camera that we use, but you could cheat the other way too with different lenses and stuff and make it look like things are really further away.
Yeah.
The only critique thing that I noticed was that we had a few different people praying, and they
Ben,
shared
that
the mic.
never crossed my mind. About 3 different people said something to me about that.
Yeah.
Sharing the mic.
It
when we got
never.
10 mics
If
up
I
there.
had thought about that, I would have done something otherwise. But it just never crossed
Right.
my
Yeah,
mind.
that's what I.
And it
figured.
was a last minute. It was a last minute decision, which happens in my kind of ministry a lot. I realized I've got 3 other pastor guys here, and we got time, and the small crowd was small, and it was different. The atmosphere was different. There's a lot of room between the seats, and so there were a few kids here, and they were kind of up and messing around and
Yeah, as a
standing.
parent, my kids like
It was so
they got to
relaxed.
spread out.
All the doors, all these doors, all 4 doors, interior doors and exterior doors were all wide open. So it was just kind of it felt a little bit like an outdoor setting, much more relaxed, much less driven and folk. I was just that part of it was refreshing.
That's kind of funny because what you just described, where I immediately went with it was families should bring like a little quilt, and families with little kids, a little quilt, and their kids just have to stay on the quilt, kind of like you would at a park.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at the carpet, or carpet's green, like grass. And,
Yeah, that's it, man.
more
You
like
got,
outside.
you know, I have honestly, from Sunday, and you guys will think I'm crazy, I've honestly thought, I like the feel of that so much, I'm tempted to leave it just like this. Because it was so much just less rigid. It was just freer. And maybe that's just me saying you can't be that, but it was just like, I just want to tell people, if you're not comfortable here, if you need to pick your chairs up, I may have said that. If you need to pick your chairs up and move them in the back corner, go ahead. If you need to scoot off of that and go sit over there, go ahead. And there was it was so much more relaxed. And I enjoyed that a lot.
It's such a large room. I mean, there is a lot of capability for people to space themselves out, and it just has to be. I guess everybody has to be intentional about that. And
I think I heard of one church that this guy did that, and he put like a number of places where there were 2 chairs, and other places there are 3 chairs, and a few places there's 4 chairs, and so that your family. Of course, we live with our family, so, your family could be together. Or in our case, because we live so close to Jeannie and Trevor, the whole second row up there was Anita and Jeannie and Trevor and all the kids and Isaiah and Sadie. And so we had a whole row, and you'd think, well, they need to with the family like that. So it was interesting. It was honestly, this will sound crazy, but you guys can relate to it because you know me. I was so excited about preaching that I really didn't catch too much that other. I just couldn't wait to talk about, what the Lord wanted me to do. That Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so I was so pumped about that.
So I had thought about that today. So I had I feel like the way I'm hearing from God lately is not the same way I felt like I've heard from Him in the past.
Okay.
Like what I've come to sort of recognize as His voice, I've not been hearing that, but I think I've been kind of led in other ways. Like I won't go into specifics, but it got me sort of thinking about your sermon about, if Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We change.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was going to say.
And so as we change, He has to communicate to us in different ways.
Yeah, that's right.
Because and that can look all different kinds of ways for different people, but just something that I thought.
That's a good little piece to throw in that, because it would be easy for you and I to say, well, God's changed in the way He's dealt with me, and you'd say, yeah, His pattern of communicating with you has probably changed, but His character has not changed, and what He's saying. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I don't know somewhere, I think maybe Friday night about 10 o'clock, I was out in the garage working. I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to celebrate the Christ we knew of yesterday and look at some of what we believe about tomorrow, and then challenge us that we don't think necessarily that way today. It's pretty refreshing. And I really come to realize that in the church, there's a whole stream, a big, broad stream of the church that says, the apostolic age and the brand new Christian church age is radically different from ours. And so there's really very little similarity between the power and the presence of Jesus that they experienced and the power and presence of Jesus that we can experience. And that's tragic. I hope that's not right, and I don't believe it is, but there's a lot of that goes on out there. And so it's been pretty encouraging for me, and I need the help. Most of the time, yesterday's gone. Can't do much about that. And I'm okay with tomorrow. Today's the day I usually struggle with. What about you guys? You struggle with yesterday, today, or tomorrow? That'd be a good question for people online. Do you have a tendency to struggle most with yesterday, today, or tomorrow? Let's ask Reese first. Hey, Reese, you struggle most with yesterday, today, or tomorrow?
Probably yesterday.
Oh, that surprises me. Yeah, I would think at 15, you would have, almost 15, you would have said tomorrow. But no, yesterday. What about you guys? Ben and Trevor. Yesterday, today, or tomorrow?
I struggle with yesterday, I think, more.
Okay.
I think I struggle with tomorrow.
Isn't it interesting how we're all different? That's one of those things where we're like, any of you guys online that can respond. I mean, are you struggle more with yesterday, today?
Ramsey Bashon says today. Michelle Marlin says yesterday. So yeah, I wonder if that's, just kind of, does that have to do with the struggles? Like the struggles of your inner struggles of like I would say tomorrow, because just the unknown, I don't know what the day's going to bring. Yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting. I don't know, Trev. I didn't think about asking that question of people until tonight. I don't know if it's part of our personalities or where we are in life, or I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue why. But that's interesting to think about that.
Aaron Van Fleet says tomorrow. Walt Sonny West says tomorrow. Todd Schmidt says yesterday because I can't change the past. So that's a good reason. Becky Allgood says tomorrow. Danny Bratcher says today. Ramona says not knowing what tomorrow holds. Yeah, and then Robert says yesterday. Daryl Rowe yesterday. Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of yesterdays
and tomorrows.
And tomorrows.
Not too many today.
Just a couple of days.
Well, that's interesting. If anybody can give us any insight as to how and why that falls out that way, it'd be something interesting to talk about, because, wow.
I don't know if it's insight for everybody, but for me, I think I struggled with yesterday because that's kind of where I've always I've fallen short, or I've missed something, or I didn't get done what I wanted to do. There's always kind of combined the to-do list. That's all kind of yesterday for me. It's all the things I didn't get done. Where today I don't struggle with as much because it's my new opportunity to do more.
Wow.
And then tomorrow I struggle with even less because that's even more opportunity to do more. I think that's for me kind of how it.
Wow, so interesting. So you've kind of got one thought that kind of shapes all of that, like
so.
What you have to do, what you need to do, what you should do, kind of helps. Wow, that's interesting.
I like this answer because it's honest. Van Fleet says tomorrow because I don't feel like I'm preparing for it properly. So I mean that's just real life,
Oh yeah, man.
There's
sure.
uncertainty there because you feel like, man, I'm not ready for that assignment or that job that I got to go start, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Wow. Just interesting, and somehow to recognize, and that's only one verse of Scripture, and I don't want to build a whole theology on it, but he does say that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and it's pretty hopeful. And one of the things that intrigued me, I don't know if you remember in the book of Hebrews, I'm not saying you should remember necessarily, but there's different places where really he hits on today. Today is the day of salvation. Chapter 4, 5, 6. Today, today, today. Today, if you hear his voice, don't harden your hearts like they did in the day of redemption. So today just seems to be, it's a big word in that book. And so maybe that's kind of what pushed me on as well. I don't know. But It's good.
A couple more responses. Jesse Ford says, with how the world is today with the virus, owning a business in a struggling world, I definitely struggle with tomorrow. And then Heather has a good point. Fear is a faith issue.
Yeah.
The trust of that.
Yeah.
Walt Sonny West, tomorrow does not always happen as planned.
Yeah. Wow.
And Heather's fears of faith that she was talking about,
Yeah.
that tomorrow she thinks is if you struggle with tomorrow, you may have a faith issue.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I wondered about, from my perspective, if you struggle with yesterday, you have guilt,
Yeah.
forgiveness, feel bad over it. Because, I mean, it's gone.
For sure.
There's nothing you can do to change it.
Yeah.
So if you can't find some way to
Forgive
find
yourself,
forgiveness for it, forgive
someone
yourself,
else.
or like Ben say, I didn't get this done, well, I got to transfer it to today, and I'm be more intentional today and try to get it done,
Right.
whatever. But yeah, it seems like that has a bit of built a guilty kind of baggage. It goes like,
Yeah, I can be a grudge holder, that kind of stuff I can struggle with, and also be a self beat downer over mistakes and that kind of thing. So it probably all falls under guilt. That's probably
yeah.
right.
Ben, I recently I found something I shared with Jeannie the other day. We were talking. I'm kind of like you. I'm pretty hard on myself, and I was sharing with Trevor Ford. I found this great article on here. Here it is right here. I found it online. It's called "Studies in the Spirituality of Jesus." Studies in the Spirituality of the Jesuits, who were a bunch of Catholic monks, and it's just wonderful. But why did I tell you about that? Oh, I know why. Now he says, if you're busy worried about yourself too much, you'll never reach the height of the spiritual journey you want to reach. And I realize I'm pretty hard on myself. And if you're not careful, you think, well, being critical and being hard on yourself is not the same as being self-focused, but it is. Being negative on yourself is still just looking at, even if you're being, well, I didn't get that done, I should have done better, I shouldn't have said that, I could have, I should have, I might have, I didn't, all of that. That doesn't sound arrogant, it didn't sound braggadocious, but it is still, and so the Lord's been spanking me a little bit saying.
How many pages is that?
Is that the navel gazing we talked about?
That's a navel gazing, baby. That's a navel gazing. It's about 30 pages.
Oh, okay. Well, I found one that's 60, so is that a different
Yeah,
one?
no, it's the same one.
Okay.
It's the same one. They read it out in 60 pages. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
It's because the last 20 pages are all footnotes.
I'm going to add it to the chat.
Oh, my goodness. If anybody reads it, they'll think I'm crazy.
What's that?
Here's a quote. I didn't plan to bring this. Here's a quote from page 37, guys. William Faulkner wrote, "The past is never dead. It's not even past."
Say it again.
I don't want to say it again.
Say it again.
William Faulkner said, "The past is never dead. It's not even past."
Is that? I can't believe that's true.
I can't believe it's true. You have to come read this, Ben, and see what he says. Then he quotes to say, for the Jesuits used one of the teachings of Ignatius from the hundreds of years before and said his teachings were neither dead nor past. So, but he's using this odd quote from Faulkner that says the past is never dead. In fact, it's never past.
Yeah, that's more along the lines of history is alive today.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I do think things that are in the past, that probably ties into my inner struggle with it, is because it is dead and it is in the past, and so I can't fix it. I can't do anything with it. I can't undo it.
How interesting.
There's no way to do better with it.
I realized it was really cute. Jan Scott asked me if I wanted a lesson in grammar today. And I said, no, thank you, because I mentioned a couple of different verb forms. One was related to the past as ongoing, and the other is past and just past, gone. And I realized this is what I do in my life. The positive things that happen in my life, they happen, I celebrate them for 30 seconds and they're gone. The negative things that happen, I can carry them for weeks.
For years.
Or years.
Right? Wouldn't you agree with that, Ben?
Oh, yeah.
I hate that.
I have that same bent, I think. And it's, yeah. I definitely have that same bent.
I hate it. I don't know why. I'm like, Lord, please change that in me, because, Anita and I can be having a great day and enjoying everything about it, and have 4 crosswords, and sometimes we have as many as 5. Sorry, Anita. We have 5 crosswords. And I'll forget the whole day. I'll forget all the good things. I'll forget all the joy. I'll forget all the fun we had together, all that. And those 5 words I'll hang with for 24 hours, 48 hours, till tonight. But I don't remember anything tonight, so it's good. It's good. But I don't like that, man. I'd like, and I shared that with her, and I said, man, I'd like to hold those at the same level. I'm not saying forget all the negative and just remember the positive. That's kind of equally out of balance. But it seems wrong on my part, especially in relationships. You get in relationships with somebody and you got a lot of good things, you get one little negative thing. Somebody said, if you pay, listen to this, that's crazy to me. If you pay your house payments for 30 years and one of them's late, when you run down through the list of all the payments, the one to stand out is the one that's late.
Mm-hmm.
And because, there'll be some notated by it said Ben Hill was 2 weeks late on his house payment one time. 360 payments, one of them was late. And that's the one. So something's up with that. And
yeah, I agree.
I'd like to get beyond that.
Is that an American thing? Or if it's something with our culture, unique to our culture?
Yeah, I would throw out there maybe it's a human thing. But I do think you bring up a good point. Is that because of our Americanized culture? Or is that just because of that's the human in us? That,
I'm not real aware of that human thing,
yeah.
because there's people say, well, we're living in the flesh, and that's what we are.
Okay.
But there's a clear passage in the book of Romans that said if you live in the Spirit, you don't walk in the flesh. I believe, and it hadn't happened for me yet, so maybe I don't have any right to believe it. I believe God can change that pattern in me where the negative doesn't carry on as long. I think He can shorten it. I really believe He can.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all.
Don't you?
But I think I get in the way of Him doing that.
Me too, man.
Oh,
me too.
For sure, Ben.
Yeah, me too. And so I'm just like, man, I don't want to go there. I want to. Some people maybe some of it's personality. I don't know, but I want to. In my life, it's easy. It's just easy to focus on the negative and forget the positive. My wife, she's told me this a bunch of times. She says, if something happens good, you'll say God did it. If it happens bad, it's my fault. It's another kind of thing, like, So anyway, I don't know how that we got off on that little twist, but be interesting to see how many of us tonight recognize that we celebrate the good for 30 seconds and struggle with the bad for. I remember, you guys have heard me say 1,000 times, Steve Manley's one of my preacher heroes.
Right.
And he would say, he can stand in the back door and 50 people say, great sermon. And one little old lady said, that was the worst thing I ever heard anybody do. And that's what he'll remember when he goes home.
Well, and we do that now. If you go on Amazon, I assume people are like me, but I don't know. If I go on Amazon and I'm looking at something that I'm not
Yes,
sure whether or
sir.
not to buy, I click the reviews. And
Yes,
I don't
sir.
read the 5-star reviews.
Yes,
I want to
sir.
see the 1-star reviews.
Yep.
So I immediately go to the negative.
Isn't that right?
And then I make my judgment based on the negative instead of,
Overall average is 4.8.
Yeah.
But you read the 1 and the 2 and
how bad are the lemons? I guess that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kinda
It's
weird.
something about that. I do the same thing with, we've only a couple of times stayed in a Airbnb. Well, first thing you do is go look at the reviews. And man, yeah, I'm kind of like you. It seems like we're drawn the wrong direction sometimes. I don't know. I want that to change in me. I also learned another word, guys, this week. So let me just share that. Unless, Trev, somebody want to talk? Is there somebody on there who wants to
No,
talk?
people are
Mona
just saying.
says you have a good tan.
I have a good tan?
Good
Yeah.
tan.
Congrats.
Good
today.
grief, I don't know how.
Maybe our white balance is off on the camera.
I tell her it's blood pressure. Sorry, I'm not
It
supposed
does
to
look
clap.
pretty good, I will say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ramona. Ramona, you made me forget what I was going to say. was going to say
Your
something.
other word you learned.
She's embarrassed. Oh yeah, she's embarrassed me. That is the word clutter. You know, somehow I've been praying, Lord, I don't want my heart to be cluttered with a bunch of stuff. You know, and it's probably related to the same kind of thing. Let negative things clutter you.
Okay.
And so I looked up the word clutter, and one of the things that intrigued me greatly is it's always plural. So most of the time, here's what happens. If something comes along, like, Trevor, if I've got some stuff that I'm struggling with you, and something new comes along, if I've already got something in my pile, it's just like, it gets to me. I just can't. I got a history with you. You've already smarted off to me twice, and you've had a bad attitude with me 3 times.
Like you've already poisoned that.
I've already got this clutter going on, so I can't handle it if I'm cluttered. Now, if the slate is clean and I don't have a pile of junk, if I'm not carrying this backlog of history of negativity, I don't know why, with you, then, man, I can take that one issue and roll. But if I'm carrying a backlog of junk, then you guys know what I mean? If you've got some experience, you got some history with somebody.
For sure.
It all comes to the surface.
That's right.
And then you can't see just the one thing.
That's right.
You just see all.
That's right. That's right.
Sometimes, like, even in those scenarios, like, it's hard for you to be in the same room with that person. Like, if you have clutter, like, if you have real clutter in that relationship, like, that you haven't dealt with, that, you know, one pastor I listened to, Mike Todd, not too long ago, he talked about release. Like, you got to be able to release that. You got to let the Lord
let it go.
have that. You know,
you got to let it go.
And just like if you're not doing that with people's, especially relationships, because I think some of that, like as humans, like that's some of the hardest things we can deal with are relationships.
Oh, they are.
You know, and if you don't release some of that clutter in those relationships, I mean, I feel like that can haunt you for a long time.
It was funny. I told the Lord, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, that I was praying, but I said, Lord, just clean the dance floor. I don't know why I call it a dance floor. It's just like, man, don't let me walk around with a history, you know? Man, I know I've done and said things to my family and other people that have certainly been potentially cluttering in their lives. And, man, as much as I want them to not hold clutter with me, I don't want to hold. It just is intriguing me in that it was always plural. And it reminded me, I can handle about one incident. I can handle an incident or two with just about anybody, however big they are. But if I let myself begin to build a case as to why they are the way they are, and I hang on to the pieces of that case, then like you say, Ben, one little paper wad just makes it feel like, oh, dog, I can't take this anymore, you know. And I don't know why.
One of my favorite, maybe not favorite, but a thing I love to do is watch a Zamboni.
I don't know what that is.
They come out, an ice hockey game or ice skating rink or whatever.
Okay.
They bring out the Zamboni and everybody gets off the ice and that thing comes in and makes it like glass.
What's it? Does it scrape, Ben? Is that what it does, or
I
what's
think
it?
it puts water on it and
fills in
all the cracks.
Oh,
and everything.
man.
And for me, it's like, we need God to just Zamboni all those relationships.
We need that thing running all the
Get all
time,
that
don't we,
good.
man? Oh, yeah. I love that. It's a great image. Just say, you think about people in our lives that are a little bit, relationally, we find ourselves cluttered with them. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but we find ourselves kind of cluttered with them. And I'm like, Lord, man, I don't want to carry the kind of cluttering baggage that keeps me from tolerating the simple things that we all do and say. You know, it's just well, I don't want to do that, Lord. Yeah. It's a challenge, though.
Beverly McKinney says, how do you let go of the backlog of feelings that are negative, even if those feelings are many years ago? That's true. We have backlogs, That's that clutter. That's
Beverly, I love that. And, that's a wonderfully honest, real question that sometimes, I agree with you, Beverly, that backlog can be 20 years ago.
And
20 years ago.
Clutter can get real ugly too, like I think about the show on A&E. You ever watch that, Ben, called Hoarders? I know you don't watch TV, Harry.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
man.
So these
Yeah.
literally they have to hire people to come in, like therapists, and people to come clean their house because they can't even like move around in their house. They have so much clutter in their house, and it's just like that's the image I get because it just can get so ugly, like physically.
They're coming to shoot at my garage next week.
Yeah, mini garages. Can
that's where that's where you got plates of food that have been sitting there for 3 years, and
That's right, man. And it's no joke. But I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. We do have a backlog, and I don't know. I mean, the Sunday school answer and the I can speak from experience. The answer is forgiveness.
it is the answer.
Yeah.
But Ben, wait a
it's
minute,
not
Ben.
just forgiving. If you were wrong, it's not just forgiving the person that wronged you. It's forgiving yourself for holding on to it. But it's letting go completely of it, and that is just so hard to do. And in fact, we can't. I'm convinced we can't do it. It's
God has to do it.
Does it
Absolutely,
for us.
brother. Absolutely.
But we have to present it to Him in such a way that He knows, and we're genuinely ready to just give it to Him. We don't want to carry it anymore.
We don't want to carry
it. Yeah, and it's so hard to do that.
Two things I think related to that. Number one, my brother Rick used to preach a sermon often on forgive and forget. And he was real quick to say, those are not the same things. Just because you've forgiven doesn't mean you now have amnesia and you're never going to remember it again. Because there are some things that, quite frankly, I don't think we'll ever forget.
Yeah.
But even remembering, you can say, but I have given this over to the Lord. I'm not. And a part of forgiveness, this is the other thing, and then you guys can respond as well. The other thing for me, forgiveness is not, part of that for me just means I'm not going to determine the consequence for them. I don't have to be, I'm not paid to do that. Yeah, this or that happened, but I give up the right to determine that they get a spanking or they get punished. And so Lord, I'm going to totally let you deal with that. I'm not going to be the one that deals with that. And that sounds to me a little more doable than just getting over negative feelings and trying to be more positive, whatever, But it's challenging, man. It's challenging.
And all that comes from God.
It does.
The ability to get there comes from God, and all you have to do is look out in society that is severed from God and see how they act. And you can see quickly that forgiveness doesn't come from society.
No.
We don't do that. I'll give you. I'm going to put myself on camera because I feel myself getting ready to talk.
Okay.
But I don't know if either of you heard about the Rick Bozich article yesterday.
Cheerleading article.
Cheerleading article.
I haven't read it.
I did.
So yesterday afternoon or something like that, he released this column that basically it just said that the only reason cheerleaders are at sporting events is because they're sex symbols and they're sort of eye candy for the perverts or whatever. I don't know what all he said, but he basically said they're not athletes, and that's been a long-standing kind of joke, that cheerleading's not a real sport, and of course neither is NASCAR, and a bunch of other sports have had those same kind of arguments, but this article was pretty rough, and it really got quite a few people hot, and my daughter included, who took it upon herself to write Rick Bozich an email yesterday, and he actually responded to it. And he took the article down and wrote a new article and apologized in the new article. But the email he sent Reese, he thanked her for her taking the time to email him and share her views, and he said in the email he was wrong.
Oh,
wow.
So,
Ben, when a guy says he's wrong like that, man, I can give him some space,
Yeah.
I can give him some space.
Yeah.
Because we can be wrong.
So he, at least in the case of Reese's communication with him, he owned up to what he said and didn't say, well, that's not what I meant, or, well, you misunderstood.
Yeah.
He didn't try to redirect the blame. He took it and said, yeah, I was wrong.
Wow.
And so that combined with an apology in a new article, in my opinion, goes a long way toward really, as a society, we should forgive this dude.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe even, embrace him more. That he's stepping up and because none of us are perfect.
No.
And so, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Because I think he's on WDRB or whatever. But
Yeah.
But we'll see if he gets fired. I mean, the WDRB fired, I think, a weatherman a couple years ago because he had like a racial slur. It was like how sometimes you say words and your brain thinks one word and a different word comes out and you don't even realize what you said. It was a racial slur that came out, but it was like some combination of other words and he didn't even realize he had said it. And
They fired him.
but I'm not sure how he handled the days that follow. That
Yeah.
plays in, but I think he was fired. I think he works in Nashville now. But we'll see what happens. But I don't. My expectation is society will tar and feather him,
Absolutely.
and burn him at the stake,
Absolutely.
and he'll never be able to be at a career level that he's at now, unless he totally goes somewhere else where they don't even know.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that, Ben. I mean, I'm not trying to just totally disagree with you, but I think when a guy can come out and be that honest and have an apology, and it sounds genuine in terms of like not like the station like made him do it, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean he was out of line for sure, but so hopefully we can see that there's still grace when stuff like that happens.
Oh my goodness!
That forgiveness can be sowed into people's lives. So I have a great illustration.
Okay.
Because I think the Lord's been working on me in terms of having hard conversations, for a while now. The Lord's been helping me have hard conversations with people and just trying to encourage others.
I mean, you're not calling me on the carpet right now.
No. And me and you, like, we have good conversations
yeah,
too. But, I've recently become a youth pastor here, interim, and just, I noticed our first FaceTime call, and Reese can probably laugh at this, but our first FaceTime call, Zoom call, we tried to get other people into this FaceTime call, but you couldn't get some teens into it because some teens have blocked this teen, and this teen blocked that teen. And so I could tell immediately there's like this weird undertow of tension going on.
Clutter, baby, clutter. Got a history.
And so like
it's
taken every bit of this Corona season to try to get to the source of like what's really causing this. So finally, with the Lord's direction, because I laid off of it for a little bit because I'm like, man, I'm not here to fix everyone's problems and they got to heal and figure that stuff out, But anyways, this past week, we all got together and had a heart-to-heart, and it was just really encouraging to see how sometimes we can just totally miss the mark on stuff in terms of projection, like some people feel like, oh, I feel like you were so mad at me, you were never going to forgive me kind of thing, and it's just this weird tension. And so finally there was a lot of forgiveness to happen,
Wow.
And so it was just this good moment of, I feel like that's a good, healthy step forward for some of those teens in the youth group, and it was just really, and I think that's hard for us though, as adults even, or people in general, like to have those hard conversations because it was awkward, like sitting down with them, socially distanced in the same room, like it was hard to have that conversation. Like it was awkward and it was like, but as we started talking, the Lord just kind of helped. And it was just like one of the teens, like he was sweating, like he had pit stains, like it was tough, but like it needed to happen, because if it didn't happen, I'm not sure what that would look like in terms of moving forward. And I'm not just talking about for their relationships, but I'm talking about for the youth group in general. Yeah. Like I think it was impacting the youth group in general.
And toxicity in any group,
yes,
it affects the whole thing.
Absolutely.
I see it in businesses all the time.
Yeah, that's good, Ben. Yeah,
it's crazy. You can walk into some businesses and you can tell within, an hour or two if there's a super toxic
it's
person
in the
there.
air, man.
Oh man, they stand
It's
out.
in the air.
Yep.
You can tell who it is.
Yep.
Now, if you guys don't mind,
yeah,
I'd like to. Not done this before with Hanging with Harry.
Right.
I'd like to take a little break and just pray.
Yeah, let's do it.
And ask the Lord to help us, those of us that are watching, and those of us that are talking, but particularly if you've not thought about somebody in your life that you know you got a backlog of negativity with.
That's good.
And the truth is sometimes, man, they can just be looking past you at somebody across the room and you interpret that as something ugly because you got a backlog of clutter. And let's just ask the Lord to help us just clean off the dance floor, you know, or whatever. So we do it. I'm going to pray a simple prayer. It doesn't have to be big. Lord, I thank you tonight that we got on this conversation and we all recognize what negativity does to us. And I acknowledge, and the guys agree, it seems like it's easy to hang on to the negative and let the positive just have a shelf life of 30 seconds. And we need help with that. And we also need help with our histories and the backlog and the memories and the holding on to the things that people have said and done and situations and before long, the smallest little thing, and we're right back into that negative cycle with somebody. And I pray, Lord, that you just clean off the dance floor, that you'd send the Zamboni on or whatever Ben called it, and it would provide a brand new, beautiful, fresh, no pores, no divots, clean place for us to skate together. Help us. Maybe somebody right now knows a particular individual that there's a backlog with. And I pray that you'd encourage us to ask and trust you to forgive the clutter and to move forward. We're not naive. We do believe we'll still remember, but with remembering, there's still the hope of forgiveness. And so just help us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Well, that got pretty spiritual in that conversation. That's
great.
All right, man. That's all right. That's an interesting word.
A lot of flavor.
A lot of flavor there, Ben.
A lot of flavor.
That was red pepper, wasn't it? Or what's the strongest flavor we have? I don't know. A lot of flavor in that one.
Like ghost chili pepper, is that right?
That'd be hot. That's not flavor.
No, that's just
not flavor.
that's just burn your mouth.
It's just burn your mouth.
Garlic, maybe? I don't know. Garlic is strong. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's good. Let me tell you one other little thing. I've been working on this idea. Help me with this one just a little bit. And I don't know what this has to do with anything, but I've been running into studying through Isaiah. At some point, it's actually chapter 8 of verse 17, I think. Isaiah says, I'm just going to wait on the Lord. So I've been working on the idea of waiting a little bit. And I've come to conclude I don't wait very well. And here's what else I've learned is I make people around me have to ask me things 3 or 4 times. I make people wait. Sometimes I get aggravated and need them. Like, why in the world? Like right now, like everybody else in the country, we're in the middle of painting the kitchen. Oh my God, see this white right here? Trevor told me about, got it scraped off before the thing. He said, hey, you got paint all over your arm. I said, I know. Just like everybody in the country, we've been painting the kitchen. And she's like, I want to get the kitchen painted.
Is that not like, just to interrupt for just 1 second, is that not a testament to a marriage? Like you put 2 people in the same room painting. My wife did that the other day, and it was just like, man, this is a test. Like this really, like, it determines like a lot about your relationship, does it not?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Okay,
I'm not
go
going
ahead.
to testify
Go
too
ahead.
much.
Go ahead.
I ain't
Go
going
ahead.
to testify too much.
Go ahead.
So anyway, so we're painting the kitchen. And I'm thinking, why in the world right now have you decided you want to paint the kitchen? And I realize she's asked me about painting that kitchen for 2 years. And I treat it like, why'd you bring it up today? She's got to look at me and say, you're a moron. I have mentioned this 500 times. But somehow I feel like this is brand new. All of a sudden, now the clear blue sky now, you want to get a new pair of tennis shoes. I haven't heard about it. And wait a minute, I don't say that. But, you know, it's just I take things like they're out of the clear blue sky and they've never been spoken before, when the truth is somebody's been waiting for me to respond for a long time. Does that make any sense at all?
Oh my gosh, man, you're like walking all over me.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
I'm walking all over me, Ben.
Yeah, we must be wired a lot alike.
I can tell tonight we are, yeah.
Yeah, so we're working on our basement.
How long's Heather wanted to work on it? Yeah.
Probably quite a while.
Okay. How long she wanted to get the aquarium to where it quit leaking?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, that's been a disaster. But yeah, I think the thing that popped in my mind, she's wanted a swing probably since we got married.
Was that 25 years? How long, Ben?
And
How long you been married?
This is
24 years?
24 years
Okay.
this October. So, I don't know, I knew she wanted to swing, and I would go through these phases of trying to keep lists. This is a list of things Heather would like, and the swing never made it on the list. And so, finally, was it 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, I finally, on Mother's Day, I think it was Mother's Day, birthday, I think it was Mother's Day, got her swing. And, but anyway, but it's not that I don't know. I didn't retain what she told me. I'm not for sure I didn't hear it or didn't listen. I just didn't retain it properly. And so it never got on the list. And that's, I think I do that with a lot of things and paint.
Is that because we're just too busy, or I'll tell you another one in our house. In our above the dining room table, one of the fan blades was loose, and it was not only loose, the screws were out or something. I don't know. So it's turning this. All of them are nice symmetrical, except this one is going over there. So she can't turn the fan on, and she's like, "Well, sometime I'd like for you to fix the fan blade." And to be honest, I don't know how many times she said it, but I didn't even know the fan blade was like that. It's kind of like. And so in this process of working in the kitchen, she said, "By the way, if you get a chance, that fan blade needs to be." I said, "What fan blade are you talking about?" She looked at me like, "What? Are you from Mars or something? What's up with you?" And but because I'd been thinking about that, and I wish I could retain that, within that day, sometime during that period that day, I got a drill and a couple little screws and got the holes punched in there and tightened it up, and the fan blade's fixed. And I realized it's so honoring and respectful to respond to people,
Right.
rather than just put it off. Or I don't. And sometimes you have to respond in ways, like you said, Trevor, that aren't. Not you can't always just say, "Oh, that's just beautiful, honey." Sometimes you say, I don't think that fan blade can be repaired. We just need to get a new fan or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've come to recognize that I'm a master at making people wait. I didn't mean to be, but I am. I don't know why.
Well, part of that is, wow. So part of that is because you are the bottleneck for a lot of people. So people wait because you either have structured it so they can't do what you do, or they're not freed up to go do it on their own. As I'm saying this, I'm learning.
Oh, yeah, I understand. It's okay.
Again,
Me too.
I've got
I
the
learn
same
as I
issue.
talk. Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah. So like in my case, Heather wouldn't do certain things because she knows that if she did them, when I see it, I would critique it so much that she would regret doing it at all.
Yeah. So she wouldn't go out and buy the swing.
She might buy it, but she wouldn't hang it. Yeah.
So it would sit out in the
and if
garage
she
for
can't hang
24
it,
years.
Yeah, if she can't hang it, she's not going to get it. So, so that's probably how I've done it. I've structured. I'm thinking both at my work and my home. I've structured them both so that I don't do as good a job as I should, equipping and freeing other people to do everything they can do to keep me from having to be
I'm
the
sure that's
bottleneck.
been part of mine. I'm sure that's been part of mine too. So I hold people in some kind of place, and but a lot of times I just recognize I have made people wait. I'll give you another illustration, and this is news to you, Ben. It's news to church people, but. So Gene, well, not all of it. Gene and Trevor live in an apartment. They've lived there 7 years. They have 2 little boys, and they're soon to have a little girl. And I don't know if you know how big a 2-bedroom apartment, about 800 or 900 square feet, can be with 2 kids, much less 3 kids. And so I said, Trevor, why don't we, you got 3 bays down there for cars. Why don't we take one of those bays and just frame that in and turn that into a room? And he looked at me like, we couldn't do that. I said, It's not unreasonable, we could do that. And so we talked about it a little bit, and Jeannie was just beside herself. Oh, that'd be a great idea. We got to be a playroom. We can move all these toys down there. Man, we can put the TV down. Wow, this would be... And then you just go in this season of silence where nothing happens, And because I've been thinking about it the other day, Jeannie said, you just kind of look down and say, well, what's the news about the room down there? And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm putting you in a season right now where you have to wait. And so between Trevor and I, we got on the phone that day and have a couple of bids to bring before the lead team to look at and say, hey, it'll cost a little bit to frame it up and change some sheetrock on it. Not a whole lot, but something. And do we want to do that, But, boy, I don't like... Trevor, Ben and I are doing all the talking. You jump in on the conversation. Is anything you want to say at all?
Yeah, I don't know if it's men that do that mostly, like in one ear, out the other, and...
Yeah, we're all men. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can speak to how women do that. I suspect they do, but they do it differently, I think.
And it's not that we don't care about that individual. Sometimes for me, it's like I don't have the answer. I don't have the fix for that situation. So instead of just saying that out loud, maybe I kind of just wait till they drop it or something. Does that make sense? Or I don't have the time.
Sounds like the weakest excuse I've ever heard.
Some excuse. I mean, I'm not saying it's a great answer.
But what if it's not a fix, Trevor? What if it's just? What if it's not some? In my case, most of the things that I'm talking about do not require some major skill or ability. And we're just talking about somebody wanting something. I don't know.
Right.
And you feel like I just put unintentionally. You put people in a position. No, here's what I do. I say. I can see myself saying, like, why'd you bring this up today? Why right now would you say, I want a porch swing? And I'm thinking, why today? And she looks at Ben and says, honey, if you remember on our second anniversary, I wrote in the card, P.S., I would love to have a porch swing. That was 23 years ago. I'm sure she didn't do that.
I was about to say, you really missed it then.
Dude, it's all brand new, and I've not heard it, or I've not responded to it, or I've not taking the time to do it, whatever. So for all of you that I have made wait by not responding, I hope the Lord will help me to do better, and that'd be good if He does.
I'm excited about one thing.
What's that?
We had a 2-hour conversation on Saturday with NYI counselor for our youth group for the teens of the Nazarene Church on the Kentucky district, just about camp. And we went ahead and voted that we are going to pursue camp with guidelines and safety. And so good. I'm excited about that.
Is that still the 4th of July weekend?
Yeah, it's July 6th through the 10th.
6th through 10th.
So I don't know, it's just good. Like I felt like, man, I just wanted to make sure and bring that up and just celebrate, Because we do a lot of things on the district for teenagers, and camp is one of those things that I would hate to ever miss because it's such a spiritual, transformational time for not only individuals but for youth groups themselves. So it's good.
Hey, it's a good chance for me to pitch a little piece too, just quickly, and that is to our church family, and that is Walter Johnson passed away this morning, and it's a sad day, but a good day. He was certainly a faithful man in the Lord, and we loved him. And so, just for your information, and I'll send this out, but you that are watching, his funeral will be at 1 o'clock on Friday here at the church. And so just make you aware of that. And pray for Martine. They only have one son named Carrie, and Carrie's now retired from LG&E, I think, as well, and so just remember to pray for those guys.
Yeah. Also, Rabbi Zacharias passed away yesterday, I think.
Rabbi Zacharias, great Christian apologist. It's funny, there are a few guys whose lives have impacted me, and I only really one thing. I only remember one thing about Rabbi Zacharias. Okay. Only one thing. He was speaking in India, and he's had an international preaching and teaching ministry that's just always been compassionate, but so strong and academic. He was talking about preaching in India and how different it was in his culture. Here he is well-known international speaker, author, written many books, and they introduced him by talking 30 minutes about his father. And when they got done and said, and this is his son, Rabbi. And that was his introduction. And he used that to talk about the importance of the father. And I thought, oh my goodness. You know, here's a man whose life and ministry was so impactful. And you would introduce him by spending 30 minutes talking about his dad. Yeah. This is his boy. Oh, come on up, you know, which is...
Yeah, I would encourage anyone, if you have never looked up Rabbi Zacharias on YouTube, like, man, there's tons of awesome
and
apologetics and defense of the Christian faith.
Some is divided in themes and topics that if there's a particular area that you wrestle with or one would struggle about, that he would probably address in a way that you would find to be reasonable and fair and helpful.
Yeah, always helpful.
And so, so remember his family today. I'm sure they're broken at his passing. And but well, we talked about 2 or 3 things tonight, and anybody else got anything out there you want to bring up or talk about or mention or?
We probably should. Are there any restrictions for the funeral?
Ben, I don't. You know, the funeral home you could only have 10.
Yeah.
You could have only the same 10. All I know, there are distancing. They always want. One of the restrictions is social distancing as much as possible, and certainly ventilation and no handouts and all the kind of things that we try to do on Sunday to prevent that. I think 1/3 of the building capacity, which would be 125 or 130 in this room, and I doubt there will be 25 people here. But it does give them a chance. Walter has a couple of living siblings and some nieces and nephews that would get the chance to be in the building. So that's all I know, Ben, about that.
Yeah, I know I've had quite a few friends that, you know, and you two have had loved ones pass, and, you know, they've had to do the 10 limit.
That's what we did.
That's it. So,
yeah. And I said to Kerry, his son, I said, you know, he was very aware that when and they're dealing with Owens, and Owen does a great job with their people, that they could only have 10, and the same 10. Couldn't have 10 go out and 10 more come in, the same 10.
Gotcha.
And they have 12 in their very immediate family, not including siblings and nieces and nephews and others that might want to come, and a few friends that drop by. And so I said, yeah, you'd be welcome to have a service in the sanctuary. Our restrictions number-wise are not quite the same as the funeral home, so we will be allowed, as far as I know, 1/3 of the building's capacity, and we would do our best to provide those guidelines. So yeah, I think, you know, I talked to, for instance, Dave Lobb, and Dave's getting old. He knows how old he is. If you don't know, I think it's 84, you know. And he said, he and Yvonne are going to come. And you're like, well, okay. But I'm sure with careful preparation, yet that was such a significant friendship for them. They felt like we're going to come by, at least say hi to Martine. Not stay for the service, but just come by and say hi, and show their respects and go. So, yeah, probably some of that. But we all continue to believe it's a season in which, in the difficulties of this season, man, the church should, in every way that she can, love and serve and minister to the people. And so it's important. We should pray for our churches, because I think tomorrow is the day that our governor says, really, you can begin to function somewhat as a church again. And many churches are struggling to even know where to begin with that. And I fully understand that. So we pray for that. It's a big deal. Anything else, Trev?
Ramona says, keep Morton in your prayers, waiting on insurance to approve move to Fraser.
Okay. So maybe Mort's going back to Fraser, it looks like.
Yeah, we've been waiting for a little bit. They were thinking they might go last week, and it didn't happen. And he's doing well, health-wise, in terms of, you know, his pancreas is shrinking, and lots of good indications of some positive movement as far as his body's concerned, but he's lost a lot of his ground and the ability to function, move,
Muscle and mass.
that stuff. So he's they're working him at the hospital, but they don't work him like you do at a physical therapy place. And so, but they kicked him out of Frazier the moment they could last time. I mean, he just
What they used to give
he
you.
kind of worked a little harder, and they got a bracelet. They got a different color bracelet depending on what your requirements were, and he asked to be upgraded over a weekend. And as soon as the insurance got word of that, boom, he was gone. So because he was tired of having to wait on somebody else. So every time he had to go to the bathroom, somebody had to come and help him, and he didn't really need that last time. Now he's going to need that again. But
Used to be they'd give you 21 days, and then you have to be out and almost literally have to be back in the hospital again, and then you could get 21 more days. But I don't know how.
Well, he was only there, I want to say it was 2 weeks the first time, and they kicked him out. But that, he had Kindred in between there, which was also physical therapy. So I don't know if that played into it. But now this is day 15 of his second hospital stay. So
That's 75 days this year in the hospital already.
he texted this morning. He said he had gourmet breakfast, chicken broth, and cherry Jello, which he's going to be on a liquid diet for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just to give that pancreas time to heal and recover and all that stuff.
But his pancreas already shrunk 50%. So
Is that good?
that's good. They want to see the inflammation go down, and so that's a good thing.
Okay.
But it's still going to take
That's
time.
great.
So.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Good. Anything from out there, Trev? Okay. Well, hey, guys, thank you for joining us for a night of friendly conversation. It got pretty spiritual at times, but it's been a pleasant evening to be with you, and pray the Lord to be with you, and pray one little prayer, and then we'll go. Thank you, Lord, for an evening when we just talked, and the talk is always refreshing. And thank you for friends that joined us. And I pray that if any issue that we talked about tonight, the Spirit just kind of help them to recognize that's an issue in my life, that we'd find a way through it by your help. And like Ben said about a lot of things, those are not the things we can typically do, but you do those in us and for us and with us and through us, and we acknowledge we need that help. Be with us tonight, and as we begin a new day tomorrow, may you guide and direct us in every way, and we'll give you the glory. We ask in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And everybody said, amen.